all started in January when Maruti announced that instead of it building a manufacturing facility in Gujarat, it will sell the land to a 100% subsidiary of parent Suzuki. The Suzuki Gujarat plant will supply Maruti cars at cost of production plus cash adequate to cover incremental capital expenditure. A group of institutional investors opposed the plan, calling it unfair to Maruti. Their concern was that this arrangement will shift value from Maruti to the Suzuki Gujarat subsidiary, and that Maruti would indirectly be paying for the subsequent expansion of the Gujarat plant. They asked for more information, but Maruti has failed in quelling their concerns. Last week, more investors joined that battle. In a rare show of strength, 16 institutional investors have taken on the Maruti management. They are fighting against what they call a value-eroding, oppressive transaction, which is ill-conceived, blatantly wrong, and a contrivance. Will letter writing be enough? Well, the Maruti management shows no signs of capitulation. Then, what legal action can Maruti's investors take? Well, to discuss that, I am joined today on this special edition by Anil Singhvi, the founder of IIAS, Anand Desai of DSK Legal, Mohit Saraf of Luthra, and Virendra Jain of Midas Touch Investor Forum. He's joining in from Delhi. Gentlemen, to all four of you, a very warm welcome. This is a rare instance, Mr. Singhvi, of institutional investors finding a voice, and they picked a hard route because actually the first thing they could have done was to dump the stock, and nothing sends a message more loud and clear to management than a falling stock price. But instead they've held on. In fact, the stock price has held on, done fairly well and weathered this storm, and institutional investors are letter writing to express their grievance with this arrangement between Maruti and its parent Suzuki regarding the Gujarat model of manufacturing.
Sure.
Do you think they've picked the right route?
Not really, but I'm glad that the first time I'm seeing there is some spine with the fund managers, and more importantly when Maruti has almost 8,000 crore again deployed by way of mutual funds. So all the mutual fund, the domestic guys, if they are showing some spine here, I think there is a ray of hope that things will...
so what you're saying is actually mutual funds could stand to lose if Maruti decided to get peeved with those who are opposing that transaction and pull their money back.
Fortunately, this time it is not one against the other. All of them have joined.
Right.
So I think it's a very good move, and I think they were all waiting and watching for some time. So, but just writing a letter is not enough. I think just sending a letter, and they've just gone and met Sevi on this issue. I think this is a very low decibel situation as far as Maruti local company is concerned and Suzuki is concerned. So they need to be a little more...
Okay, so that brings us to the core of this conversation, which is that what legal action can institutional investors or investors as a class take against the management if they are displeased with this decision of the management? I'll put that question first to you, Mohit. Do you see what is going on here as simply a, let's say, possible violation of the spirit of governance, or is there a technical violation of a law or regulation, because that will determine what legal action they can take?
If you see, I think all of us understand that there is probably no violation of the law. That's one simple thing. But if you look at what all they have made statements, if you look at and you try to construct it, and also what you just added, the prices of the stocks have not gone down, people have not dumped.
But they did go down, but they've recovered. That's what I meant.
But the board meeting is tomorrow, but it's still recovered. So what it all goes is that people are using is as a negotiating ploy. And actually, if you think about it, a lot of investors in India, if you see foreign investors, Indian investors have always, whenever it's an open offer, creeping acquisition, they've always gone against the international investing or international promoter. So this, if you look at all the parts of the law and all the statements they have made, I don't see even a spirit of the law being violated. But yes, there is a chance that something which is not there will come tomorrow, and that we need to fight, but not what has been declared.
So based on the facts that are currently available, you're saying that there is no reason for institutional investors to be aggrieved, and there is no violation whatsoever either of the law or the spirit.
Correct.
And hence there is no grounds for legal action.
Correct. I would say, if you look at it, really, if you look at it, get into a little bit more detail, what you will look at is that this is going to go at the board level. There are strong fiduciary duties of the board member. That's number one. The new Company Act is going to come in, where the interested directors and interested shareholders, which basically takes away the entire half of the board, will not be able to participate, and therefore they will have all the reason. Actually, if this is not an arm's length transaction, if this is a transaction to to make this as a distribution
They will
company.
all have all the reason to do what?
They will have all the reason to block the transaction.
They have the opportunity
Yes,
to block.
yes.
Okay, so that's predicated on Companies Act 2013 coming into force before these key agreements between Maruti and Suzuki are signed on. And you know, if that happens, great, institutional investors can vote against it, and if their vote prevails, superb. If their vote doesn't prevail, and there's a very good chance of that happening, because actually they own only between 3 to 5%. It's LIC which owns a big chunk of 6% and more, and foreign institutional investors which have been absolutely silent that own 20% or more. So even in a minority vote, there's a good chance that these 16 fund managers will not prevail. But that's only predicated if the Companies Act 2013 comes into force. Otherwise, what roots do they have?
Well, it depends. If they think they've got a fit case, they can go to company law board today. If there are 100 of them that come together.
Or 10%.
Or 10%. I think you just said it's less than 10%. So let's assume.
Yeah, mutual funds is less than 10%. If LIC joins their
then
fight,
more than 10%.
then they'll make to reach
Correct.
10%.
So I think from what I understand so far, there's some issue in the independent directors' minds from what I see in the press.
Right.
And they're not very happy with this, which itself is one alarm bell that is going off.
Yes, but that's, you know, that's a part or a partial alarm bell, Anand, because when the company first released the press release in January, they said the board has approved,
Right.
which means that whatever, you know, reservations independent directors have, they want enough to stop the board from going ahead and backing this
We
proposal.
have a letter from Mr. Bhargav saying that it was a unanimous decision of the board. So I don't think today that there is any board member.
A letter written to
Yes,
IIS saying
yes.
it was a unanimous
Unanimous decision of the board, and there was no dissenting director in January board meeting on that. So I'm not too sure whether now the board member can jump and say that, oh, then I agreed, but now I'm not agreeing on that, because it was
It could very well be that all the media backlash and the institutional investor backlash
he can't-
has forced independent directors
can't-
now to save backside, right?
No, he can't change his mind of January
On that issue.
14.
Yeah, of course, now he's approved it, yeah.
Now he can have his own that, okay, I didn't read this and this was missing and that was missing. But this was a unanimous decision of the board. And
The
according to
unanimous
me,
is an interesting bit because their own press release doesn't say unanimous anyway. It's board approval.
So they say it's a unanimous decision of the board, and they've in fact questioned this, that, you know, since board has decided unanimously, we are well within, as you rightly said, within the framework of a law. So what's your problem
But I
with this
think
whole issue?
the very important part, Menka, which you said, is that the new law will come into place, and this
If and when it does, I mean, the
yeah.
expectation is April 1st.
Okay,
but who
and
knows?
this act, this whole thing, approval will happen prior to that. But I think one very important part which I want to bring it here is that whatever is being talked about is really a framework agreement, because costs have to be passed through. That's what they have talked about. There will be no profit, and these are issues of detail. The lease agreement
So
has
what
to
you're
come.
saying that